guys? Welcome back to another cringy video on the channel. If you guys are new to the channel, I'd appreciate it if you think about subscribing, joining the journey, and liking these cringy videos that I put out there, and of course commenting and giving me your opinion of where you'd like me to fish. But today we're doing something totally different. What's crazy is if I go that way, I hit the Sacramento River, and if I go that way, I hit the California Delta. So in this area we have a lot of different options on species to catch: striper, smallmouth, spotted bass, largemouth, that kind of stuff like that. Sky's the limit right now. For the love of God, do not try to go eat that beaver. So it's about 54.5 degrees, which is really good compared to what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be in the upper 40s, maybe 50, 51, just because we're getting a lot of dirty cold water coming in from the Sac River into this area. Got quite a bit of current. I've seen no boats so far. This is totally new to me. I got a lot of rods on the deck because I got a lot of things to try. I got two forms of top water, a walking bait and a frog, just in case, because it is the Delta, you never know. I set up, I got a Texas rig, a jig, a crankbait, a chatterbait, a drop shot, and a Senko. So I got, like I said, I have a lot of things tied on, a lot of things I'm gonna try to see what's gonna work, and hopefully we get on some fish today. We'll catch big ones. Maybe we won't catch anything at all, but you never know out here. New waters, exploring new stuff just makes it so much better. I'll see you guys at the first cast. You know, let's run up river. I saw a couple eddies that came off, and maybe there'll be some fish trying to get out of the current, or maybe setting up in that way. Hell, maybe we'll get some striper. But let's get this bad boy up on plane. We got a lot of debris floating down. I saw a couple logs and trees already coming down that were close to probably 20, 25 feet, which is absolutely huge. But we are running a jet. That shouldn't be a problem for us. We might just catch a little bit of air. Here is a quick and easy tip for you guys out there that like to throw crankbaits and stuff on the Delta and or anywhere where you're having overhanging trees. On the Delta, there's current, so it's gonna make it a lot easier. On lakes and other things, you have to deal with the wind to kind of get you a little bit of current to help you do this. But I'm gonna teach you guys a quick and easy trick to getting your crankbait up underneath the tree without getting it hung up. All you have to do is make a cast in the front of the tree and let the current take your crankbait all the way through the tree. You click it over and you just reel it back to you. And above all, it optimizes your chance of catching a fish, because now you're not having to get that crankbait in the middle of the tree, running the risk of having to skip the crankbait and or getting it just downright hung up in a tree. And you're optimizing your chance of getting a fish, because now you're making a cast out in front of the tree, not spooking, not making a lot of noise, not spooking the fish that are going to be in that area. But above all, you're letting that crankbait just go right on through the tree, and you're bringing it through the tree. A lot of times these fish on the Delta, they see a lot of crankbaits, they see a lot of spinnerbaits, and above all, a lot of chatterbaits. So this is something that's going to help you guys out. It's worked for me quite a bit, especially when I'm fishing in scenarios where there's a lot of overhanging structure. Finally! And it is a little smallmouth. Finally feels good to get a hook and a fish. Water is absolute chocolate milk. Wasn't getting any bites on the chatter. Felt something like bites, and finally got one to eat it. But if you look at this fish, he has some damages to him. Something got a hold of him. Those look like claw marks from maybe an otter. I don't know. First fish of the day. Roughly 2.5 hours to get a bite of just covering water, flipping, pitching, cranking, throwing blades, nothing. And for some reason there was a fish right there. This bank in the last about 100 yards has had a little bit more rock on it. That's a little bit more flatter. So I'm wondering if that has anything to do with it. It's tough to say because I did 100 yards of fishing the exact same thing, banging rock with the crankbait to finally get one. And I'm cranking on 10-pound P-line tactical. This is my go-to cranking line for my medium to shallow divers, and then from there I'll switch up to about 12-pound tactical. I like it because it has a really high knot strength. It has a little bit of give in the line, but not a lot, like mono. But above all, it's a little bit thinner line diameter, so it does really good when the water is crystal clear and the fish are kind of finicky. Thinking this one, maybe even this one just to get down there. Yeah, let's go with that one. I can foresee the largemouth being up in some of the structure like this, but not the smallmouth or spots. There we go. Little largemouth, but he choked it. I think I kind of figured out what I was doing wrong with the chatterbait, guys. Possibly. I could be wrong and I could just be junk fishing. He was up super duper tight in the cover, but my big thing was that I forgot. I broke my #1 rule, and that is to pay attention to the water clarity and the chatterbait. I started off with a relatively clear and chartreuse one, which I normally throw in on the Delta, but recently the gold blade has been outperforming the silver blade in dirty water. So after I broke off my chartreuse one, I switched it up and put on a black and red. That didn't work, and then switched it up, put a more natural shad style, a little more white in it, and switched it up to a gold blade and got a bite relatively fast. I'm talking less than 10 casts, and of course that fish came up tight to the structure. And another thing about this spot, it's in the bend in the river. I got current coming this way, and it's getting pushed around this way and then pushed up this way, causing a lot of swirling water. And I do catch a lot of stripers and that kind of stuff, but I'm not really marking any. But that does help out even with the bass feeding as well. It's really, if you guys can see all this bark and debris is all getting pushed up into the bank, and that is bringing along insects bring along shad and stuff like that. So a lot of factors go into fishing a body of water that has a lot of current, especially right now with it not really having tidal movement. It's having constant current. So I'm thinking these fish have kind of adapted now in the last 4 months, I'd say, of it being like this, that these fish have kind of adapted a little bit differently. Instead of waiting for a tide change to feed, they're more fishing like a constant current feeding system, much like in the Stanislaus River, the Sac River, Tuolumne River, and all that kind of stuff like that. largemouth. Okay. You, sir. So what I'm thinking is these fish, what I thought would come up in here and get ready to spawn and be a little more active, they're not. I think possibly they're still out there feeding, waiting for the water temperature to get a little bit more, and then they'll make an attempt to try to spawn up in here. I don't know though.